Last night I went out with some colleagues from work to a pub in a little town near where I work to see a pantomime. I know it's an odd time of the year for pantos, but this is the time they always have it. And it's a fantastic event. You know, it's like a local. It's just people who drink in the pub really, who every year put a show on, and they're always fantastic. And there's lots of like in jokes and references to local events in the town, and they're always a bit rude, you know, that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed it. It's kind of live theatre at its best, really, in many ways. But the kind of, well, I don't actually want to talk about the pantomime, but the thing for me is I very rarely go to these events, you know, and quite often if there is something happening like that, I say I'm going to go, then last minute I'll send my apologies by text and not go. And the reason why is because I'm a bit prey to anxiety. I get anxiety attacks, and which means that, not that I didn't get an anxiety attack last night. In fact, I don't think I've ever actually had any kind of anxiety attack in a crowded public place. I think, which is pretty common amongst people like myself, is that I get them not in the event itself, but in the thinking about the event to come. So if I don't think about it, I'm fine. I just kind of tricked myself yesterday into thinking that I wasn't going, and then kind of at the last minute, I just picked up the car keys, went out the door, and I was off. So I kind of found myself there, you know what I mean? But if I have to anticipate it beforehand, plan it, think about it, get ready, any of those kind of things, I can just feel the anxiety building, and it's anxiety about the event in the future. And I also get anxiety about something else, and this is what it's a bit odd, really. I also get anxiety about telephone calls, and probably Skype and any kind of live hangouty kind of thing. I've made a few Skype calls, but I don't do those much, and I use the telephone as little as possible, because I get similar kind of anxiety if I know I've got to make a call, or if I know a call is coming in and I'm going to have a conversation on the phone. Again, I start to get panicked. So I've been thinking, you know, why those two events? Why these large group events in public places and telephone calls? Because at first I thought it was to do. I should add, by the way, it tends to be unstructured events or unstructured calls which do that most. It doesn't affect my job at all, because all of my time spent in public places there is highly structured. But if it's a kind of nebulous, not quite sure what's going to happen event, that's very different. But anyway, what am I talking about? Oh yeah, so I've been trying to think, you know, why those two stimulus situations, why do they cause it? Because at first I thought it was just kind of social anxiety or claustrophobia, even maybe something like that. The thought of being pressed against a crowd of other bodies in a small space. Which, you know, is possible, but that's not it at all, actually. I really don't mind that. You know, obviously, because of my job, I work in theatre, I'm quite often pressed with a lot of bodies in smaller spaces. It doesn't bother me at all, it's not that. But I think it's a kind of a correlate to that, kind of a correlate to claustrophobia, which I'm trying to think of a name for, and the nearest I've got right now is something like Contemporophobia. I know I'm pathologising something which shouldn't really need to be pathologised and giving it a name, but if I was going to give a name to that, that's what I'd call it, Contemporophobia. Because if claustrophobia is a kind of anxiety produced by being in a restricted space, Contemporophobia is anxiety produced by fear of being in a restricted period of time. Because that's kind of what it feels like in both those events, you know, going to an event like I went to last night, or being on the phone, that suddenly you and other people are crammed up together in this tiny amount of time. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. You know, you're in the same moment together somehow, the same second, the same microsecond. You're live in that moment, you know what I mean? It's, as I said, the time for you is that you're sharing the same period of time. And periods of time are too small sometimes. I feel like I want to stretch out sometimes, get a few hours around myself. open myself out to those hours. It's not that I don't like you or I don't like people. I do like people. But sometimes, I don't mind if they're right next to me here, but sometimes I want them to be a couple of hours away, if that makes any sense. So yeah, just that being cheek by jowl with someone in the same moment, except under very particular, maybe even structured circumstances, is the thing that seems to be provoking my anxiety sometimes. Of course, sometimes I really like it, you know, that moment of being together in the same period of time, whilst yes, it can provoke anxiety in me at least, and I want you over there several minutes or hours away. At other times, you know, obviously I want you right here, exactly now with me, in this now. And a lot of events are around, aren't they? You know, the moments you share with a lover or a close friend, and that's the intimacy of that for me. Isn't the intimacy of space necessarily, although of course that's useful depending on your activity. It's the intimacy of shared moment in time, really, of being pressed into the same second. Or the more communal activities, you know, of at a gig or something like that, or a public event of some kind, like cheering together at the end of the panto, or joining in the song at the end. It's one of those things, you know, the banner comes down and there's like a thing, one of the performers does this along the words and you sing along. It was like that. That was quite nice, because we're all in that moment in time. As soon as the show was over, I left immediately though, because, you know, there's that weird period of time afterwards, isn't there, when you're just socialising, whatever that means. So there you are, crammed into the same moment, but with no script. And you know, it's actually nice here today. Look, I don't know if you can see the blue sky behind me here. Look, yeah, look, it'll probably be raining by the time you watch this, because it's been like this last few mornings, but then it's just kind of awful. But yes, right now it's nice, so I'm going to enjoy it while I can. Thank you.